course. So, but since I'm controlling the photos here, so it's going to be a coordination between the three of us.
Well, Dennis, I have it right up here in front of me. If you want to just worry about the photos and I can just read the titles, and
No problem.
will that work? Okay.
Yep. Right.
All
Okay.
right.
So go ahead, Colleen.
All right. So first picture tonight is Buoy Buddies.
Go ahead, Daniel. You need to unmute yourself, Daniel. You're still there. You go.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Slightly rocky start, but we're going 4 minutes after the hour. And it's great to be with you again this evening. I had a marvelous time 2 weeks ago when I judged the digital entries, and I felt like Christmas had come early. It's a great honor to be able to judge for your camera club. And some of the images I'm seeing are just marvelous. And I admire your capabilities as a club and the fact that you're still in operation and compiling the scores, which I think is just an absolutely great thing to do for a club, as long as things don't get hostile. I had some of those instances in the past where I belonged to camera clubs where competition became so competitive that people became disenchanted with each other. But I know that won't happen to the Spokane Camera Club. So we have the first image up tonight. It's called Buoy Buddies. And I'm looking at this and it's a really great composition. I like the vertical composition of it. I like the striking, well-saturated colors that I'm looking at. We have a horizontal ocean line, which is sometimes not easy to accomplish. We've got subjects here that are arranged very nicely, very nice poses for these three. And there's a fourth one there that we can see a part of, and then a fifth one here that's kind of looking away. And then we have a Brandt's cormorant here, which tells me that's along the Pacific coastline, most likely. Either that or the Gulf of California, and I'm going to guess the Pacific coastline. Very nice saturated colors. I've rated this very highly. Composition 5, impact 4, technical expertise 5.
Buoy Buddies by Lori Carlton Smith, 14 points.
Woo!
Yay, Lori.
Okay.
Bursting Forth.
Well, this is also a subject of very high impact. And as I'm looking at this, I see very sharp details in the plane of focus here, which I really appreciate. Unfortunately, the focus falls away. We see real sharp conditions here, and then by the time we get through part of this petal, we start to see focus fall off. And then by the time we get to the back part of the display here, why things are pretty much unsharp. And for macro subjects like this, at least my preference is to see more depth of field rather than less depth of field. So small apertures are required. And if you can get into some type of focus stacking, I highly recommend it. And you can learn how to do that on Google. There are literally hundreds of places you can go to on either Google, or you can go to YouTube and get information on how to do that. It's quite simple in Photoshop and some other programs, and it really enhances macro photography and scenic photography in a big way. So as I'm looking at this, I would also like to tighten up a little bit on the composition to make it more vertical. And we could take off a little bit on the right side and also on the left side. I like very much the background is non-distractive. So that part is really good for the composition. So I have rated this one composition 3, impact 3, and technical expertise 3.
Bursting Forth by Terry Hamilton, 9 points.
And this one is called Early Morning in the Shop. And this appeals to me in a dramatic way. And it somehow brings back memories of my father, who was all of his life an automobile mechanic, until he retired. And then he decided he was going to build violins. So he built all of the jigs that were required. He acquired some really, really good wood. He went across the US to find the best type of wood for his violins. And he started building violins. And he designed a number of them and built a number of them. And his crowning work of glory I have in my possession. And that is the violin that was actually played at his funeral. So this image really appeals to me in a very heartfelt way. I love how the light is coming through the window here, which is suggesting early morning light as the title indicates. I love the framing here. Notice how we have just enough room right here to get by and just enough room right here to get away with it. And the same right here. So careful selection was done on the framing of this composition. You might argue you'd like to see the rest of the neck on the violin here, but that would take us out into a lot of empty space out here. So I think this was a wise choice to end it right there. There's one distraction that I see here in the upper left, and that is a very, very minor comment that I make. And other than that, this is just an absolutely wonderful composition. So I rank this one very high, composition 5, impact 5, and technical expertise 5.
Early Morning in the Shop by Terry Hamilton, 15 points.
Woohoo! Very good.
Fall Reflection.
Well, here we see really nice dramatic color and a wonderful reflection in front of us. And just really ideal conditions for recording the area of peak interest back here. As I look at this, I see there's good technical expertise. There's sharpness from the very front of the leaves here all the way back to the mountain peak in the background. I might suggest an alternative composition to this if we go and zoom in just a little bit. What I'm seeing that is the most interest in this particular composition is this area here. This is where the color is, the really nice part of the reflection. And I would like to enhance that. The whole thing about landscape photography is to accentuate your subject and do it in such a way that there are no distractions. So what I'm seeing here on the left and the right are framing devices that are a distraction to me because these are larger and they're taking away from the really, really keen center of interest, which I think is here. So Dennis, if you could go 1 or 2 steps in the plus on this, that would crop in a little bit. I wish I had full control of the screen.
You want me to?
Yeah, zoom in 1 point. Okay, that starts to show us the effect I'm thinking about, and then zoom in 1 more.
Is that good enough?
Yes, that's good
Okay.
enough. No, if we could zoom in just a little bit
One
more,
more?
then I don't know. Yeah, that might be too far, but somewhere in there is a good alternative composition where we don't have distractive elements, where we see the subject really accentuated and made larger in the frame. So if you're a landscape photographer and you only go out to photograph landscapes with a 50mm lens, you are doing yourself a disservice. It's a great lens, but you need to be able to stand at this location and zoom to your heart's desire. So zoom lenses are your friend in landscape photography. So on this one, I ranked it composition 3, impact 3, 4 rather, I'm sorry, and technical expertise 3.
Okay. Fall Reflection by Steve Whitaker, 10 points.
Okay. Okay, everybody see that?
Mhm.
Okay.
And the title of this one is Grizzly Named Blondie. And just a very dramatic image of this, I believe a brown bear, either a brown bear or a grizzly bear. And it's just a dramatic image. I really like how we're looking right into the face of this bear. And there's wonderful depth of field from the front part all the way to the back part of the bear, which I think is just fabulous. I like how the background is non-distractive, and we can tell what it is completely. There's nothing to steal our vision away from the main area of interest, which is right here. This is an incredible image, and I wish it was mine, but it isn't. And you could quibble about the out of focus grass here in the foreground. You could say, well, crop that off, but then you would also be cropping off this one little strand of grass here, which I think needs to stay because it goes all the way up. So this was a good choice of where to end the image. You could spend hours with a clone stamp tool and try to get rid of these out of focus blades of grass, but I think that is only just a very minor distraction. And as such, I've ranked this composition 5, impact 5, technical expertise 5.
Grizzly named Blondie by Maxie Adams, 15 points.
Go Maxie, woohoo!
Life below 32 degrees.
Well, this is a great view of ice and freezing patterns that we see. And that part of the composition is done very nicely. The vertical format is chosen appropriately because of all of the vertical lines we see in the composition, as well as the outline of the background here. Unfortunately, I don't know what this is. I looked at this for a long time and I could not come away with a feeling that I knew what this was back there and or down there. I guess we'd be looking at a vertical composition here downward. So that's it's a negative from my way of thinking. It's hard to identify what I'm looking at. And I also see this as a major distraction in the composition. You could end the composition right here. And maybe in the title, just give us an indication of what we're looking at here. I think that would help out and perhaps bring a better score. But I've ranked this composition 3, impact 3, and technical expertise 3 as well.
Life below 32 degrees by Kim Barbie, 9 points.
Title, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Path, I'm looking at the picture. Pathway to Glendale Coke.
Well, this is a very pleasing image. I like the great lead-in line here that we're looking at. I like the arrangement of the coke ovens. I looked this up online and found out this was in a place in southwestern Montana, near Dillon, Montana, I believe. And it's quite a famous place. I've never been there, but I really like the arrangement I'm looking at here of these coke ovens and how well they're actually preserved. I love the background sunset colors that we see here, or perhaps sunrise, which I doubt. It's more likely sunset. And for me, the hillside here is attractive, as well as the trees and the horizon line here in the upper right. I see no major distractions in this image. I love the colors, the subdued lighting, I think fits with the theme of the sunset, and the saturation on the colors are all handled very nicely. So another great image. I've ranked it composition 5, impact 4, and technical expertise 4.
Pathway to Glendale Coke by Donald Burnell, 13 points. Pickpocket.
Well, this is an interesting composition, suggesting, of course, that the horse is pickpocketing the individual here for a delectable of some sort. I would prefer if we could see the eye of the horse open, and also if we could see the face of the individual, to have him turn around magically in the composition. Of course, then the moment would be gone. But nevertheless, those are things that I think would strongly enhance the composition. The technical part of it is all done well. The depth of field is great. The exposure is perfect. And I've ranked this one composition 2, impact 2, and technical expertise 3.
Pickpocket by Tim Lesser, 7 points. The Huntress.
Well, this is a very nice head view of what I think is a red-tailed hawk. It's very dramatic, very striking, framed wonderfully well. We can see a nice flash highlight in the eye here, which is always attractive to see. There's great focus throughout this image. I like very much how the lighting kind of enhances the shape of the head of the hawk. I think that's done very well. There are no distractions in the background. I can't find a single thing to cast doubt upon or any ways to improve it. Composition 4, impact 5, and technical expertise 4.
The Huntress by Elaine Giadone, 13 points.
Woohoo! Good job, Elaine.
Waiting for Customers.
Well, this is a great shot of the old shop that we're looking at here, and this building probably has an abundance of history. I have no idea where it is, but it's a great composition. I like how the trees frame it on all sides. I think that's ideal. We can see the front of the store in our former shop in a very good way. I like the bright red color that we're looking at here. The blues of the sky are all complementary to the composition. We see the old rusty barrel over here. It's quite striking, the old chimney that's falling apart here in the background. So there are a lot of things to look at. The broken glass, it just reminds us of perhaps the 1940s or 50s, back when this was a new building. There's just a slight distraction over here in the lower left. Otherwise, it's a strong composition. Perhaps we could be given a little bit more of the foreground. As it is, the building is almost resting on the bottom of the frame and appears to be chopped off just a little bit. Anyway, I've ranked this composition 3, impact 4, technical expertise 3.
Waiting for Customers by Donald Burnell, 10 points. Watercolor.
This is a very nice composition. I like how the water comes in from the upper right and flows to the lower left. Very nice diagonal arrangement there. I like the treatment of the light that we can see here reflected in it's complementary down here in the lower part of the frame. Also, the choice of shutter speed seems to be appropriate. There are no distractions other than this one white object here, which I think could be either eliminated or toned down dramatically. And the same is true for this region right here. So it'd be a minor repair, something I think would enhance the composition greatly. And so if that's allowed in your competition, I'm quite certain it is. Those are things that I would choose to do. Anyway, the score for this is composition 5, impact 4, technical expertise 4.
Watercolor by John Lepper, 13 points.
Woohoo! Good job, John. I need pom-poms.
Winter in the Sierras.
Well, this image has great subject appeal. I very much favor the vertical choice for the format. I like the beautiful lead-in line that we have here, the frozen shoreline, and the stream as it goes from lower left to upper right. For me, this is a distraction, and it's larger than a real nice part of the subject of interest back here. And you could eliminate that to a large degree by taking a step or two to the right, and then turning the camera and lens leftward just a little bit more. You could still get nice arrangement on the shoreline here. And then the right-hand edge of the frame could come through about here on the horizon and then kind of angle off like this. That would eliminate that hill. And unfortunately, the contrail here doesn't add to the composition. There's not much you can do about that. You can go in and try to clone and stamp that out. Good luck. That'd be a really tough one. The only other choice is just to arrange for a different time period to make the photo. And you were saying?
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Daniel. I just
Yeah.
wanted to remind you that we can't actually see what you're pointing at. So if you could
Oh.
maybe describe what you're pointing at
Yeah.
instead of saying right here, that would be helpful.
I'm just watching my cursor,
I
sorry.
know, I've been there, done that.
So I apologize for that. So what I'm saying, the feature in the upper right is distractive, the bare hill. It doesn't add to the arrangement of the composition in any way and is distractive to the mountains in the background and the willow trees on the back shoreline there, which is really a key part of our center of interest. And the contrail in the sky that goes from left to right or right to left is unfortunate. And other than that, I like the composition a lot. I like the time of the year, the good lighting that's presented, and the fact that we have the strong lead-in line from lower left to upper right, including the ice on the lower part of the frame. So on this one, I have ranked composition 3, impact 3, technical expertise 3.
Winter in the Sierras by Donna Larson, 9 points. Young boar grizzly.
Well, this is another interesting image with a lot of impact. You see great eye highlights in the bear, great focus on the face, and great depth of field throughout. The composition to me is just a little bit too tight. I prefer the other bear image over this one by quite a margin. And I much prefer the previous print version that we looked at. So in this one, I've ranked the composition 2, impact 3, and technical expertise 3.
Young boar grizzly by Maxie Adams, 8 points. So our next 2 pictures are general monochrome. And Elkhorn Ghost Town.
Well, I chose to look this one up on Google, and boy, there's quite a history of this place. These are the 2 main buildings in the Elkhorn ghost town near Boulder, Montana, in the southwestern part of the state. And really like this composition a lot. I love the fact that the 2 buildings are the subject of interest and they're displayed very large in the print, which I like a lot. There are a lot of other supportive details in this particular composition, the old outhouse in the back here and the building off to the side here. And this is framed very well. All the way around, we see just the ideal type of framing. And I like that a lot. I looked up the name of this hall and it's called Gillian Hall, Gillian. I guess if you had great eyes, you could read it there on the front of the building. And the building on the right is called Fraternity Hall. It's a great composition. I really like this a lot and I've ranked it very highly. Composition 5, impact 5, and technical expertise also 5.
Elkhorn Ghost Town by Donald Burnell, 15 points.
Woohoo! Good job, Don.
Okay. Needs fixing.
Well, I really say that's an understatement. But this is another marvelous image. I really like this a lot. It's not quite directly centered, which is good. We see nice supportive framing on the left and the right and the branches in the tree in the right upper part. And the dramatic clouds in the background really are supportive to what we're looking at. We see snow on part of the roof. You can see how that highlights the wooden boards there, and you can see snow in the foreground. I think that's a nice hors d'oeuvre to the overall appeal of this particular composition. And we see the 2 chimneys, how they're bent inward in the middle part of the house that's collapsing. It needed some better support in the middle. Other than that, it's just a marvelous composition. And this is very strong composition tonight in monochrome prints. I've also ranked this one very highly. Composition 5, impact 5, technical expertise also 5.
Needs fixing by Donald Burnell, 15 points.
Good job, Don.
So we're going to take a break. What do you want, 10-minute break?
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay,
10 minutes sounds good. We should practice fellowshipping.
we should. I have to go let my dog out. He's been begging for some.
I appreciate that strong flow water. Unfortunately, I don't see any static things that we can, say support all of this. I'd like to see some rocks, at least somewhere in the view. What we have here is entirely flowing water. So from that aspect, I have cut down on the scores just slightly. The water part, I think, is very dramatic, but I'd love to see some bases, some static rocks in at least part of the frame. So I've scored this one, composition 4, impact 5, technical expertise 4,
Oh, hold on just a minute. That was,
circle of confusion.
okay. So, hold on. 5, 9, 13.
Would you like those scores again?
No, that's okay. Circle of Confusion by Tim Lesser, 13 points.
Good job, Tim. Woohoo!
Okay. Droplets.
Well, this is a very great composition. I really like what I'm seeing here. The striking nature and all of the leaves here being in focus, I think is just tremendous. Unfortunately, this leaf is not quite as sharply in focus, and this one is just a partial leaf. I think the strongest part of this composition is here, and I would love to see in a
Where? We don't.
I'm sorry. All of the leaves that are shown in their entirety is what I would prefer to see in the composition rather than parts of the leaves in the upper left and upper center. And the leaf in the upper center is out of focus quite a bit compared to the rest of the composition. Now, that may not be possible to get the camera into a position where you can just isolate the 4 leaves that I'm suggesting should be the subject of interest. I wish that were the case. I love the lead-in line of the stem coming in from the upper center of the image and the non-distractive background. And except for the leaf in the upper center, I love all of the great depth of field. So on this one, I have scored at composition 4, impact 5, and technical expertise 4.
Okay. Droplets by Lori Carlton Smith, 13 points.
Good job, Lori.
Golden Drops.
Well, in this composition, we see lovely golden colors, and we see the rebounding drops captured very nicely here from the water pool. The symmetrical composition that we see on the lines in this composition, I think are very dramatic, very striking. The image is centered, which I think in this case is okay. I have the overpowering feeling that this image, the way it is shown, is upside down. And I think it would make great sense if it were turned over, but the maker has decided to show it this way. And so I'll go by that choice. Yeah, I've ranked this one composition 4, impact 5, and technical expertise 5.
Golden Drops by John Lepper, 14 points.
How many of you just turned your computer upside down? Good job, John.
I did.
Lemon Drop.
Well, another striking composition here with the theme of liquid. I like this a lot. It's captured a very, very distinct moment in time. We see the droplets as they come out of the glass and go to the upper part of the frame. And I like very much how the stem comes in at a diagonal rather than just straight vertical in the lower part of the composition. I think we could tighten up the composition a little bit on the left and the right. Don't crop off any of the droplets in the upper left, but probably crop in just slightly and the same amount on the right. And I would suggest that some of the distractive drops in the lower left of the composition could be eliminated as well. Also, I would like to see the saturation of the lemon enhanced a bit so that it was a more striking color. Nevertheless, it is scored well. Composition 4, impact 5, technical expertise 4.
Okay, Lemon Drop by Colleen Bailey, 13 points.
Woohoo! Good job, Colleen.
Yay, yay me. Okay, we're buffering.
Still buffering, huh?
Yep, we're buffering.
Okay.
There you go. Lit liquid.
Well, I think this is a bridge in downtown Spokane at the park. And I like the reflections in the water a lot, the good lighting on the bridge, which is good. Capturing the runner at just a precise moment where we can see the entire runner there in the upper right, I think is fortunate. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a cropped off feature in the upper left where you see the top of the roof of a structure in the background there, and it merges with the upper frame edge of the print. I think also that we have just slightly too much water in the foreground. We could crop that up a ways and make it so it doesn't dominate and take away from the subject of interest, which is the bridge. So on this one, I've scored this composition 3, impact 2, and technical expertise 3.
Lit liquid by Sister Madonna, 8 points. Louisiana Bayou.
Well, I like this composition a lot. It reminds me of a trip that Ginger and I took on a bayou on the old Pearl River in Louisiana, just about to the Mississippi border. And this may be the same place. It was Cajun Encounters tour, and went up the old Pearl River and then back down again. And very, very striking, almost jungle-like appearances of the swamp as you travel along on the river. And I like this composition a lot. The tree that we see that forms a strong diagonal part of the composition, I think is a great part of it. And the framing devices of the two trees on the left and the right are really good. I like the Spanish moss that's hanging from all of the trees, and the stream as it leads in from bottom center to upper right. I think all of those have been treated very nicely. I see nothing distractive in this composition. I have no suggestions for improvement. And so I have ranked this composition 5, impact 5, technical expertise 5.
Louisiana Bayou by Tamara McGee, 15 points.
Woohoo me!
Pouring rainbows.
Well, this is a great view of what I think is the base of Palouse Falls in southeastern Washington. And I enjoy the rainbow effect, the dispersion of light that we see on the left-hand side of the composition. I think that's just absolutely wonderful. The choice of using a strong telephoto lens to make this composition, I think, is a really good one. I like the verticalness of the waterfall there, and I like the fact that it is shown with fast shutter speed, suggesting that it's a real powerful, tall waterfall, which I think is very striking. And also the water in the bottom part of the pool is presented as all sharp, rather than blurry as if a long shutter speed had been used. I like the composition a lot. I like the fact that the waterfall is on one side of the frame and the dispersion of light and the rainbow is on the other side. They complement each other very nicely. So this one also gets a very high ranking, composition 5, impact 5, and technical expertise 5.
Pouring Rainbows by Courtney Litwin, 15 points.
Woohoo! Yay, Courtney!
Spring Thaw.
Well, this is a beautiful composition of small waterfalls. We see a number of them here in this particular composition. And the water streaming from the upper left and then coming around and then going to the lower left, I think is all been treated very nicely. I love the framing of this. I love how there are no distractive elements throughout the composition whatsoever. And the green of the vegetation in this composition is very striking. I love the exposure of this. I think the only one quibble I might have with this composition is that it may have had too long a treatment of exposure. And so what we're left with is pretty much featureless water. Not much hint of the actual water as we would look at it. I know that's done on purpose, but it might be overdone in this particular case. That's just a small negative. I like the composition a lot. I've ranked it composition 5, impact 5, technical expertise 4.
Spring Thaw by Donna Larson, 14 points.
Good job, Donna.
This is Takeoff from Wanna-Wish Dam.
Well, this is very striking composition of a bird in action, which is my favorite type of photography. And I looked this up on Google and Google Maps, and it says that this is a dam on the Yakima River that provides canal diversion. And it's northwest of Richland, Washington. I really like the wing position of the American white pelican that we see here. It shows all of the striking feathers of the bird as it either is on takeoff or as it's lunging forward to grab a fish that's in front of it. If I had control of the cursor, I would point out the primaries, the secondaries, all the coverts, the scapulars and the other parts of the feathers of the bird, but I don't have that. So we'll just let it go tonight. But anyway, I like this image a lot. And it gets composition 5, impact 5, and technical expertise 5 as well.
Takeoff from Wanna-Wish Dam by Courtney Litwin, 15 points.
Good job, Courtney. Woohoo!
Twin Falls.
Well, I recognize these falls as one of my favorites in Glacier National Park. And this is St. Mary's Falls. It's a nice hike from the parking lot and just a really dramatic place to photograph waterfalls. One of my favorite times of the year to photograph this is in the fall when, if you get some nice backlighting in the late afternoon, you can have rays of light coming toward you in this composition, standing at the same location. And then if the water flow is strong enough, you'll have these droplets, mist kind of accentuated by the backlighting. And it just makes a spectacular appearance for these waterfalls. I think I would favor cropping in on this composition. So Dennis, if you could take us in 1 or 2 steps here, I would like to eliminate the sky completely and frame such that that's not a distraction. Go in, there you go. And we could even go in a little bit farther and tighten up on the right and the left a little bit so that the vertical 1/3 of what we're looking at here include all of the falls. The vertical 1/3 is really the striking center of interest in this composition. And I think this makes for a more appealing composition. That's a matter of personal preference. And that's the one that I composed while I was there several times while conducting tours in this wonderful national park. Anyway, I've ranked this composition 3, impact 3, and technical expertise 3.
Okay. Twin Falls by Steve Whitaker, 9 points. All right, we're moving into print subject monochrome, and we have 3 pictures. Deadly Waters.
Well, I'm really impressed with this composition, as I have been with most of the compositions tonight. Just wonderful. I like the verticalness of the subjects of interest here, the dead trees. I like how the sky in the background is complementary to the arrangement of those trees and the shape of them, and also the moodiness of the storm clouds in the background. The framing has been done very nicely. There's just the right amount of room all the way around elements of our subject, and it's very strong indeed. These trees die because when water comes their way, as these channels of water migrate back and forth across the hot spring, and they pick up this water that's saturated with minerals, and it's enough to kill them. So that's what's happened here. And you see a lot of that in Yellowstone as you look at the various areas of hot springs. Beautiful print. So composition on this is 5, impact is 5, and technical expertise is also 5.
Deadly Waters by Tamara McGee, 15 points.
Woohoo! Yay me!
Low Tide.
Well, this is another spectacular monochrome print. I love the wide sweeping nature of the water lines on the beach. I love the tidal channel in the foreground that we're looking at here. The title suggests that that's the subject of interest. It says low tide, so we're looking at the waters here. And I like very much how the lines on the shoreline lead us up into the clouds, and then the items, the mountains in the background there. I think there are several other compositions here. I think this is a great one, and I've scored it based on this, but I see 1 or 2 more compositions. Dennis, you can tighten up on this to, I think, 3 or 4 positions on the plus, to where we accentuate the hills in the background. Yeah, there we go. Now you can frame up just slightly and include the clouds, and then a frame to the right to include the offshore sea stack that we have. That's a good composition there. And then there's another one farther to the right, Dennis, which includes the sea stack. You might have to go into the minus a little bit, but that's another really nice composition. So as you're standing there with telephoto zoom in hand, make sure you take a lot of different focal lengths of this great location. As it is, I've scored it very highly. This one is composition 5, impact 5, and technical expertise 5.
Low Tide by Elaine Giadoni, 15 points.
Woohoo! Way to go, Elaine!
Okay. And this is our last picture for the evening. Overflow.
Another very interesting print of our theme for the evening, liquefy. I really like the treatment here of the water that's coming in from the upper left and turning a corner and then cascading right in front of us. I think on this particular print that the tonality of the print is maybe a little excessive. We've gone, I think, beyond clipping on the whites on the water here. And the water also in the background is presented as quite dark. So the contrast range here, I think, is just a little too great in a monochrome print. Other than that, I like the composition. I rank it composition 3, impact 3, and technical expertise 3.
Overflow by Sister Madonna, 9 points. And that's it. Thank you, Daniel.
Well, thank you. And I applaud the tremendous images that I had to judge 2 weeks ago and also tonight. And like I told you, this has been a real treat for me. Ginger's sitting beside me here, and she's probably bored stiff at my commentary, but she likes the images wonderfully well.
Very good, very good.
And we enjoyed this very much. It was an honor, a privilege to do this. Like I said, Christmas came early, and to see the wonderful compositions that we've had to look at here in the 2 different evenings has been a real treat for us. So we wish all of you well as we move into the stay-at-home part of the holiday season. And I hope that you keep on with your great photography, and I wish for all of you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanksgiving.
So much.
You're welcome to
Thank
join
you.
us in our next meeting, Daniel.
Yes, we will consider that strongly.
Maybe online.
We'll do that online, I'm sure, and
Well, we want you
Yeah.
to come give us a presentation when we get back to the church.
well,
you
we
and
will
Ginger can
definitely do
come.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alice.
On
We will
Zoom.
definitely do
that
that.
would be
Yeah,
awesome.
we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see Alice again.
Be fun to see the people we know and all of the new people in the club.
Yeah.
Okay, well, our
Excellent.
next
Thank
meeting
you
is
so much.
September 2nd, so.
Okay,
so everybody
thank you
here
very
then.
much.
All right.
Good job, everyone.
Thanks for coming, everybody.